everybody, Red here, and welcome back to my channel. Alright, looks like Loki has something for us. What you got there, Loki? Oh, Hunt-A-Killer, Horror Edition, Blair Witch. Let's jump into it, shall we? The name's Red. I'm more of a hunter than a detective, but still falls under the same category. My partner and I like to take cases that the other cops won't touch. The newest case, thanks to my partner, comes all the way from Burkittsville, Maryland, but it's better known as Blair. Our contact for this case is a one Rosemary Kent, and she is living through every parent's greatest nightmare. Her 15-year-old son, Liam Kent, has gone missing. He's been missing for 4 months now, and it's my job to find out where he went. The local authorities have all but given up on the poor kid, stating that he must have just run away. You know, normal kid stuff. Half the town thinks it has to do with the Blair Witch herself. Well, it's my job to go through the evidence and find out what actually happened. Rosemary was kind enough to send us a nice little care package. In it is a letter from her. The contents that were sprawled across her son's desk, including his journal and the pen that was inside of it. Now, at first glance, this pen just seems like an ordinary pen that, unfortunately, the ink doesn't work and for some reason has a light on the other end. Well, even though the light doesn't work, I've seen this kind of pen before. They call it invisible ink. And luckily, I just happen to have a flashlight that is a black light at the same time. What, you don't have a black light flashlight just hanging around? Your loss. And boy, did I make a discovery. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In this care package, she included all of the evidence that the local authorities had sifted through, and anything that she felt might pertain to the case. Among these is a map of Burkittsville with key locations pointed out. She added the official interviews conducted by the local authorities, the police report, that was the statements given to the press, and an incident report having to do with her son after the unfortunate demise of her husband. Now, also in this letter, she left a link. She has created her own website in hopes of finding her poor boy. Unfortunately, she has limited the access to the website due to the overwhelming response of the community, blaming the whole situation on the Blair Witch. She doesn't want to taint the situation, so to not delude actual evidence, she has made it a private website. Let's go over the evidence, shall we? Let's start with the police interviews. Starting with Rosemary herself. The last time that Rosemary saw her son was while she was working at the Silver Moon Diner. It was around the lunch rush time. She's not sure when exactly it was, but it was somewhere between 12:30 and 2 p.m. And she had Hank the cook make 2 sandwiches for him to bring home. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich for his brother Tristan, and a tuna fish sandwich for himself. She did note that he had his backpack with him, even though it was a Saturday. Next up, we have Tristan Kent. He is Liam Kent's younger brother. According to Tristan, Liam got up later than usual that day, so Tristan took advantage and watched Supernatural. They were having a marathon, and it's spooky, ooky stuff. But the last time that he saw his brother was when he was headed out before lunchtime, and Liam did not want Tristan to come with him. This also means that Liam did not come back with the sandwiches that his mother gave him. Next up, we have Father Hobart. He saw Liam around 3:30. That's when he typically goes out to clean the graveyard from any debris or trash left over from hooligan kids. He saw Liam over at the edge of the woods, just staring out there. Now, Liam had left the remnants of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which we know was supposed to go to his little brother. Liam stared out at the woods for a little bit and then walked back down Main Street, but he was looking over his shoulder the whole time. Not at the father, but at the woods. Next up, we have Harrietillard, and she was inside the Silver Moon Diner when she saw Liam. Real quick, right after he got the sandwiches, he was on his way out. He was talking about doing some research, all the while playing with his bracelet. Now, this is the bracelet that his father made and that he never takes off. She would later see him around 4 p.m. While she was at the post office, he was across the street, presumably at the library, and he was on his way down the street. But she had noticed that he had dropped his bracelet, so she picked it up with the intention of giving it back to him, but forgot about it until he went missing and gave it to the police. The next interview is from Clementine Lidwell. She is the librarian, and she remembers seeing Liam around 4 o'clock. She remembers it vividly because Liam got into an altercation with another kid. He was a troublemaker. She didn't hear what was said between the two boys, but it was obviously something that triggered Liam because he threw the book that he was reading at the kid. Now, the book that Liam was reading was quite hefty. It was the completion of topical surveys of the area. Now, typically, that's not going to be a hefty book, but there's been so much debate over the actual shape of the town itself that there are so many different surveys made. After Liam had thrown the book at the boy, she quickly split up the two, which she noticed that Liam completely calmed down It was as if a switch flipped on him, and she told both boys to leave. Now, Liam went left out of the library. As a side note, in her interview, she does mention that she had an incident when she was younger in the woods where she saw a tall figure watching her. This tall figure may be someone of note. Last and certainly not least is the family friend Anthony Rappone. He is the local historian, and he works at the History Museum for the town. Now, he only saw Liam that day as he was passing by to get to the diner, he was assuming. And that was between noon and 1, which we can deduce that it was after 12:30, based off of Rosemary's account. But that was the only interaction that he had with him, and it wasn't really even an interaction. Now, he does say at the end of his interview that some strange happenings have been going on in the past few weeks, that he has been hearing things, murmurs that he can't quite make out. That might also be something of note. Next up, we'll look at the press release from the sheriff himself, Sheriff Lanning. Now, the meat of this conversation is just that he will not tolerate any suggestions that the Blair Witch has anything to do with this case. But the press that is present, Aubrey Bird, she is also the writer of the local newspaper. She suggests that there might be a correlation between this case and the case that his uncle, who was the sheriff in the 90s, was the head of investigation for. The case being that of the 3 college students who were out in the woods trying to film a documentary about the Blair Witch themselves and ended up missing. Now, the newspaper article that was written by Aubrey Bird happens to be about Mr. Kent, to be exact, Hudson William Kent, who is Liam's father. Now, his cause of death was a tree falling on him. Now, the way that happened was he was out in the woods with Liam, and he was chopping down a tree because he's a carpenter. This man works with his hands. He's a very talented carpenter. He has renovated many buildings around town. A lot of his work can be seen around town. And he even made the bracelet that Liam wears. Now, they were chopping down timber to, I assume, create a new project. And while they were cutting down a tree, the tree started to go a different way than he thought and was going towards Liam. Hud, as he was known by everyone around town who knew him, pushed the boy out of the way and was crushed by the tree himself, saving Liam's life. This incident happened 4 years before Liam went missing. So Liam was 11 years old when this happened to his father. In the incident report that was included in the care package, it is stated that even Liam doesn't know why he acted the way he did. He lashed out against this boy for no apparent reason. Now, the counselor thinks that this has to do with some trauma, most likely relating to the death of his father. There are some interesting notes from the incident report. One of them being that after the incident with his father, Liam distanced himself from his friends. He ended up being more of a loner. He had an odd way of coping. He would stare out at the tree lines and just stare. Liam also spoke of spending a lot of his time after school in one of the buildings that his father had renovated. This building was originally built in the 20s, and I have a feeling it's either going to be the library or the History Museum. Leaning more towards History Museum due to the fact that you really can't be alone in the library. Whereas, even according to the historian Anthony Rappone, not much foot traffic goes on at the History Museum. To help him cope with the passing of his father, the counselor suggested that he write in a journal, and not just anything in the journal, but write letters to his father as if he was still alive. But now let's get to the good stuff. The journal and the magazine article. In the magazine article that is about the history of Burkittsville and the town Blair, they go into detail about the legend of the Blair Witch. And Anthony himself is cited 3 times. He's quoted, which makes me think that maybe our dear Liam was seeking answers from the Blair Witch. And where would he go other than the History Museum? Using the black light, we found many encrypted messages. Things that Liam obviously didn't want anybody understanding at first glance. And if you're going to encode something and write it in invisible ink, you really want to keep that a secret. It seems our dear Liam was trying to get his father back. Using a code that his father taught him, which is just the alphabet backwards, he wrote secret letters to his father in his journal. Now, the ones that are visible are kind of off-putting, but the ones that are invisible, well, it seems there is a tall man that lives out in the woods that Liam thinks can bring his father back. He speaks of sneaking into a basement via a window. I believe this basement is the basement of the History Museum. And so, I'm writing this email to Rosemary Kent. Rosemary, this might be a long shot, but I think you should check the basement of the History Museum. It looks like we have a response. That was quick. Let's see what she says.
Liam was hanging out in the basement of the History Museum. I mean, why? What could have been down there? I'm heading over to take a look right now. It's right down the street from the diner. Could Sheriff Lanning really have missed something so close to his office? Hey, Anthony? Anthony? That's weird. The building's unlocked, but he's not here. Maybe he's in the basement. The door's right behind his desk. I'm just going to check. It's not locked or anything. Anthony? Are you there? If you're down there, I'm coming down now. Jesus, why is it so cold down here? Okay, there is no way the sheriff searched this. There's way too much stuff crammed in here. I'm gonna be here all night. But I guess the cold air will keep me sharp. Wait. There's a window open back there. That must be where the draft is coming from. Who would leave this open? Wait. This is Liam's handwriting. Liam's been here. Oh my God. This is his pencil case, and there are all kinds of notes. Hold on. What are these? I'm not sure how to describe what I'm seeing to you, but Liam's notes are covered in all kinds of strange markings. And this one is... Oh my God. This handwriting is... This is Hud's. Hud wrote one of these notes. Years ago, it looks like. Before the accident. You need to see this. I'm going to try to find some more evidence, and then I'll send everything over to you. Thank you. Thank you so much. You've just gotten me closer to my son than I have been in months.
There you have it. One step down, and we're getting closer to finding Liam. But we're going to have to wait until we get that new evidence before we can go any further. Hope to see you guys next time. Thank you for watching this episode. And if you liked it, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're feeling saucy, ring-a-ding-ding that bell. See you in the next episode. Bye! Now to break character for a moment. For an honest review, this was actually really, really fun. And I suggest that you guys all go out and actually play this for yourself. It is extremely fun. It's stimulating. I got so excited. I did guess wrong the first time I went through. I thought it was the basement of the library. But the nice thing about this game is it's very forgiving. The character Rosemary did email me back saying, no, there's too much foot traffic in that area. She doesn't think it's there. But that actually spurred me to think of a different location when she said too much foot traffic. Because in the interview with Anthony Rappone, he talks about how there's really not much foot traffic at his store. So I was like, nobody goes to the History Museum, and it's got a basement, and there's connections to the past, and he keeps looking at the past of the place. Yeah. So let's try History Museum. Ding, 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 ding. That was it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and let me know in the comments if you guys were feeling it. Just let me know what you think about it. And I hope you guys join me in the next episode. This was super, super fun. Bye-bye. Thanks, bud.